areas of circulation on this. One that's directly west of Ashland, another one that's kind of northwest of Ashland. Let's look, that's Monroe County. Let's look from Memphis. Yep, we definitely pick out two areas. Now, neither of these is over the top, but considering earlier we had an issue where we had one and we were tracking that really closely, and the second one developed on us. 3 minutes into Ashland on the southern storm, and then New Canaan and Walnut on the northern circulation there. New Canaan within 11 minutes, Brody within 12 minutes. And I do want a time, I need a time that includes Walnut and some of these folks ahead. I'm going to track both of these individually. The northern one, Walnut, within 22 minutes. And the southern one, as mentioned, Ashland, very close by, rotation, not proved to be a tornado at this point, but certainly there and monitored within the next 3 minutes. Faulkner within the next 17 minutes. Tiplerville, which also had some damage up there, maybe straight line wind damage, still trying to confirm what. There was a tornado out of it around that time, 20 minutes for the Tiplerville area. This is rotation. This is unconfirmed at this moment. Our meteorologist John DeLucica has given us some information a minute ago here, and we'll get his, Austin is running back in there, so we'll wait for him to get back in there. But you said you had some information on some of these storms farther south?
Telling me? Well, no, we were talking, I just mentioned that we have the live from Stan. That was right now.
Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll pop this up here. So this is our Stan Dora with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers and Spotters. That's, I mean, as you can clearly see there, you have law enforcement out there, yellow vests, spotting this one, as well as Stan, a trained spotter that's trying to get into a better position here, you know, trying to get off of the roadway far enough, looking toward what looks to be a lowering. Can we?
Indeed.
Hold on. Call Stan. Let's see if backup phone's the one we're going to go with. If his signal suddenly shuts off, we'll know that I'm calling the wrong one.
Hello?
Hey, is that a funnel we're looking at on your stream? Or what? It's a little blurry, so I'm not 100% on that.
Let me close this door.
Say again?
All right, what were you saying?
I was trying to figure out what you have there looking at the left-hand portion of your screen.
Right now, I just think it's Scud.
Scud? Okay. It's blurry, so we were having a hard time there. So, okay. I just wanted to check because it looked suspicious, but I can't see rotation on this camera view. So.
No, I don't have it either here in person. If there's anything, it would be almost dead center on the camera on that lowering, but even that, I think is just left to right motion and not rotation.
Okay. Okay. Well, give us a call if something changes, and we'll go from there. We have your stream popped up here behind the scenes. We'll try to let it. I'm going to give the phone to John and Alan. We're going to take it off speaker, and he's going to get this number from you, so that if you're not getting a hold of me for whatever reason, you can get a hold of them, and we can just use their phone and bring it over. And hopefully John has power. He has 71%. That's amazing for John. Okay, I'm going to take it off speakerphone and give him the phone. So we'll take John's microphone off here for a moment, and we'll go from there as you try to get that info. Okay, so that's Stan's shot. As he mentioned, the middle part here where there's some rotation. He mentioned the word scud cloud, lots of little finger clouds looking down. They teach you in storm spotter training, some of those from time to time, they look worse than they necessarily are. So he's out toward Belzona. And looking at that storm, that is one of the two main storms that we're tracking to move into and through a good chunk of our viewing area that could potentially try to produce tornadoes going forward. The other one that we're looking at is in Grenada County. There's really a couple here that have continued to organize. This is not imminently, the next few minutes here, producing a tornado unless something has drastically changed on this. The wind out of a couple of different radar sites here. You can see, looking at this, 70 mile per hour pixel to pixel wind change out of Monroe County. Out of Jackson, I'm not even going to click it because that's not going to give me anything of significance. And out of Memphis, well, that was out of Memphis, so let's check Jackson. No, can't see it perfectly. Okay, so it looks like Monroe County is our best option on this. Still broad enough rotation. That means tight rotation, tornado. I think that's what you want to think, or possibly next few minutes developing tornado. Broad rotation means the whole thing is rotating, and that is the case with these. But as it tightens up, that's when we know, hey, this is possible of taking that next step. It's still relatively broad, though tighter than it has been. It's broad enough at this moment. If you don't mind, John, I'm going to get on 3 for just a heartbeat here. And I'm going to make sure that we have GR up. There will be a point, and I guess, hold on, let me get that behind the scenes here. Give me just a moment here. And let's pop up that radar here, which is one of the radar products we kind of look at behind the scenes. And unfortunately, I have multiple weather authorities on your screen. One of the things, John, that I'll need some help with if we get into a debris situation is how high that debris is. And the way to find that out is you can, if I say, hey, how high is that on, 3.5 degrees? You come over here side and you choose 3.1 degrees, right? And then you put your mouse there, and right there at the bottom, it will tell you the beam height. And so if I'm like, okay, so I have debris to yada, 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 how high is that? That's why. That make sense? Okay. So we probably don't need this most of the time, but that is a scenario where we do need it. While we're on it, we might as well show you 3D versions. One of the other very useful products that this thing does that gives you a 3-dimensional look at the thunderstorm, and it helps us to look at hail. There is at least some hail aloft in this thunderstorm that we are monitoring. So we are good. So let's go ahead and, well, hold on. Let's get this new warning that's coming out here in just a moment. So I'll minimize that. That is our storm there that's in Belzona, moving toward the southern part of the area. Our meteorologist, Joel Young, right now working his way. Looks like he is in downtown Houston. We might get Joel's audio up here in a second so we can have a discussion with him. He has had from time to time some issues with data. That often happens when these folks are on the road. So we'll get that up here in just a moment so we can talk to him. The reason is a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued east of this. That severe thunderstorm warning, including folks such as Calhoun City and Houston, where Joel is, as he's working to intercept this storm, and that in effect until 4:45 p.m. Track eastward. I'm going to track the rotating part of this, and then you'll see the time on the next track get a little sooner. I'll explain that in a moment. But this is the rotating part of this if it were to continue to strengthen and try to produce a tornado. 12 minutes in the Big Creek, Calhoun City in 18 minutes, Vaden in 26 minutes, and eventually Houston within the next half hour as it moves its way eastward and northeastward at about 55 miles per hour. And I'm going to double check to make sure that's what they are coming up with on that as well. I'm going to track it, though, from the front. And the reason for that is there's going to be heavy rainfall and perhaps some hail on the front end of this before you get to all the stuff I mentioned, that rotation and that kind of stuff a minute ago here. And so Big Creek 409, Calhoun City 415, Vaden 424 there, Thorn Community at 430, Houston at 435, Parkersburg 440, and Van Vliet at 443. So that would be the heavy rainfall. The rotation we mentioned a minute ago would be running a little bit behind that. Checking a couple things here behind the scenes. They're moving east at 60 miles per hour on that. I don't know that I see 60 as that forward motion. Alan, would you be able to double check that motion there? I'm looking at Calhoun City. We'll double check that. Let's go to wind mode on this, and when you get the opportunity, we'll try to get Joel's audio up here in just a little bit. Just so we can have a quick back and forth discussion. Yeah, if he's there. Okay, yeah, go ahead and do that. And when he is up, let me know, and we'll bring him full at that point. But they are heading on Highway 8, which is on an intercept course with this storm. So he's right here coming out of Houston on Highway 8, probably going to intercept as he gets close to Calhoun City, maybe just west of Calhoun City. Then what he's going to end up doing is going to end up floating back this way, trying to stay on the south side of this. We do expect that it's going to pull very near that corridor, so hopefully we keep him on the correct side there. And you can hear our meteorologist Joe Young there in the background. And Joel, just so you know, and I'm sure you probably already know, the National Weather Service Memphis has issued a severe thunderstorm warning on that storm until 4:45. 60-mile-an-hour winds, 1-inch hail, the standard stuff what they're going with on this. Rotation is okay. It's not tight. It's still fairly broad. Is there any visual cues that you can see in person that maybe we don't see here behind the scenes?
At the moment, all I see is just some cloud coverage out ahead of it. You've got obviously a lot of humidity. You can see there's a lot of cloud coverage here, but at the moment, nothing that I can tell other than that.
Okay. The National Weather Service has it about 60 miles per hour. I still feel like it's about 55. Is that what you're thinking? 45? See, 45 wouldn't surprise me at all. It looks slow.
It's a lot slower.
Okay, so Memphis is going off the storm speed of the original one, I'm thinking, and so they're 45 miles per hour on the storm speed of this. So we're going to adjust those tracks here in a moment. Any assessment you feel? Are there any sensible weather bits of information that would be helpful? Like, does it feel particularly more humid, more warm where you're at, or is it about the same level? Or can you even tell because the windows are up?
I can't really tell as far as the humidity goes at the moment. Earlier when I was in Okolona, I could tell there's a little bit of humidity, but it wasn't bad. Let me see if I can just try. Can you unlock that window there?
Okay, we'll go ahead and pop up Joel's
humid. I
door.
don't see the windows fogging up. Of course, I can definitely feel the humidity even as I put my hand out the window and with us moving down the road. I can tell it's a little bit more humid even when we were compared to when we were stopped in Okolona.
Would you say that humidity is higher or lower than when you were in Okolona? Is it higher or lower, would you guess? Or is it, I mean, it's going to be difficult to say just driving down the road.
A little bit higher. I'm going to say it's higher, and I'm going to tell you why. When I was in Okolona, we were stopped, and I put my hand out the window. It didn't feel as humid as I would expect it to. But now that I'm driving down the road, and you would expect it to not feel as humid if you're moving, you know, because you have that relative wind, and that would make it, you know, difficult to tell. But as I'm going down the road, I can feel the humidity just sticking my hand out the window while I'm driving down the road at about, 55 to 60 miles per hour.
One thing I think we're going to look at here behind the scenes, Joel, and I think we'll take your audio down for a few minutes until you get something and let us know, obviously, when that happens. But we appreciate it and be safe, and I'm glad you have a good storm spotter driving you today out there. And we don't want anybody mimicking what Joel is doing as he's encroaching on this thunderstorm, because we do expect it will continue to strengthen. You can see the rotation there is continuing to strengthen. But one of the things, looking back toward the Tupelo area right now, obviously we have what we call crepuscular rays, where you can actually kind of look like you see the individual sun's rays there showing up out of our Tupelo tower cam as we look back toward the south and west. That tells me we're at least getting a little bit of sunshine in here. As we mentioned earlier, the fuel for these thunderstorms is that combination of moisture and heating. And so the fact that even though we have some raindrops on the screen, you can tell that we have a couple of competing things going on here. We have the atmosphere trying to heat up, but it's already used up some of the energy in the showers we had earlier on. So it's a question of, does that combination perfectly come back together? Tupelo, it's going to be still a little struggle to figure out exactly whether or not that's going to happen. And luckily at this point, we are still in the watching and waiting phase. I do want to get a report of this, and just so Joel can hopefully hear me behind the scenes here, we did get a report near Sabugala there of a wall cloud on this thunderstorm. The spotter reports that it could potentially be forming at this instant, and that's, I guess, to be expected. Of course, the spotter looking into this from Highway 8 in all likelihood there. And so I'll put our rotation where we expect it right there as it continues to strengthen. And these storms, they work for a while trying to get more organized, and that's what this one is unfortunately doing at this instant as it continues to make its way toward the east and northeast. So let's get a track on this, and then we'll go north to our storm that is, this is 55. Let's go back to, I'm going to go 50 miles per hour just in case, Alan, just in case it picks up a little speed so we don't get caught off guard. And so there's some times. Big Creek within 8 minutes, Calhoun City within 15 minutes, Vaden 24 minutes, Houston within 36 minutes. Rotation increasing, report of a wall cloud. What is a wall cloud? It's well, kind of this. Let me see if I can pop this up here behind the scenes. So this is something our meteorologist Stan Dora, not meteorologist, but our Stan Dora was looking at when he was down there a moment ago on that storm that's working its way south of US 82. This does show at least a lowering. This is that wall cloud, and it forms as air is being forced up into the thunderstorm. It causes the cloud to form just a little bit lower there. That's where stuff's going up. But if it goes up violently enough and it rotates enough, that's when things get tricky. Our meteorologist John DeLucic here behind the scenes, and I'm going to pop him up. Yes, John?
Right now, that's You can take a look at it. Right now it's behind a tree bank, but I think it looks like once he gets off out of the tree bank, you might be able to see a much better view of that west side of that storm.
Absolutely. We'll give it a second
Here
here.
it comes.
So this is that southernmost storm that we've been watching. And I wish I would have built this to have this at a smaller. Yeah, I mean, so one of the things he mentioned in his tweet a minute ago is the striations. And you can see this band that you have there. The striations are a sign that you have a broader rotation going on here. And so that's the sign that this is a well-organized thunderstorm. Some of this low-hanging stuff you have there, he's mentioning scud, that can just be detached pieces of cloud that are going up into the thunderstorm. I mean, clearly, as it's moving forward, it's forcing some air up into it. And so sometimes some people say, well, that's a tornado. Well, it's not a tornado there. But this is definitely a very well-organized storm as he continues to encroach on that one. And that one's farther south. That one has not prompted a warning for the viewing area at this point here. But that's back here toward Chula, out in the Delta. So let me get it back to a different radar site here. It's probably will bob it over to the Jackson site. Well, that thunderstorm, boy, that has gone through an evolution. Okay. Well, so this one's, what you had one very well-defined storm, and now you have a number of storms here that are all trying to organize, none of which are really super-duper good on that. So that's good. Okay, so, but nonetheless, as you saw visually, it's more organized. Maybe it looks there on paper or on radar, for that matter. Let's go up here to Walnut. We mentioned this earlier. We know we have some folks up here in the Walnut area that are working to get things back put together after a couple of tornado touchdowns. A report of the one west of Faulkner, report of damage in Tiplerville, report of damage in Walnut, downtown Walnut in particular, just east of town and southeast of town, a report of some homes that were damaged. So a number of tornado touchdowns, perhaps one tornado producing a lot of that, and another storm overhead. Looking at the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, there is some barometer rotation, a couple of spots there that we are watching. I'm going to look from Memphis, which should have a slightly better angle. It does have that one area there, but that's not the 100 miles per hour that was earlier on. It's 37. We'll track it nonetheless. Obviously, the heavy rainfall might be the bigger impact in the near term. We'll still go about that 50 miles per hour. And there you can see Tiplerville at 9 minutes. Cleveland there, yes, locations we talked about earlier, within 13 minutes. Austin, behind the scenes with that graphic that we had, the information related to what the folks there in Tippah County were saying from the, I believe it was the police department or law enforcement there. Walnut police tweet. Okay. Yeah, that would be it if you're able to. I don't know if you're able to pop that up or not. We'll try to get that up. And my earpiece here just went down a second ago. But as you can see, downtown Walnut has damage to several buildings. Please avoid the area so that responders can work to assess that damage. An incident command center has been established in the Walnut Fire Department. Please report any damage to 662-223-4115. So we know we at least had one damaging tornado that we're continuing to find information on, and hopefully that information doesn't come back and tell us that that people have been hurt. But at least at this point, luckily, we're doing okay. Let's go and look to make sure we're not missing something else. Etta there. What did you say? The Etta storm or the one?
Young's,
Okay, so the Calhoun City one. This is the one our Joel Young is on and moving toward at this instant. Getting a little more organized. And by the way, the National Weather Service, they're kind of going back and forth with a storm spotter at this instant, thinking this might have briefly produced some damage. I want to look at wind mode here, and we're going to have to go back and check it. But yeah, there's a couple spots there. Let's go ahead and put a storm track on it based on that 50-ish miles per hour. As you can see, Big Creek within 2 minutes. This is rotation. There's going to be heavy rainfall, some hail, and certainly some gusty winds ahead of this. 8 minutes, Calhoun City, Derma, 10 minutes, Hollis in 13 minutes, and Vardaman 17 minutes. Rotation. To this point, we have not been able to truly confirm this producing a tornado, but we did get a report. Let's go back here a minute, see if I can find it. John, you might have to look. Let's see if they've had a report from the folks there in Grenada County. Say again?
Yeah.
Who are you on the phone with?
Erin.
Erin?
She just wants
Okay.
to make sure she's good still and
Walnut?
Yes. Yeah, no. She needs to go to Walnut. We need to figure out what happened up
Yeah,
there.
but she's good. She's wondering.
Oh, gotcha. Where's she at right now?
She says she's there. She's in Tippah County.
Okay, but where specifically?
Do you know where specifically you are? We're looking you up. Main Street.
Main Street in Walnut. Okay. I mean, listen, there's some heavy rainfall with this. There is some rotation with that. Looking at it, it's nowhere near what we had earlier. There's certainly some gusty winds. So if she stays in and gives us, I mean, obviously it's raining. Is she out of the car? Or is she still in the car?
She's in the car.
Okay. I mean, you probably want to let this get past before you really get out there and do it. I mean, obviously everyone else is. Can she get her TVU up and we get some video from her that way?
Yep.
Okay.
So,
And if she has an option, point her car west.
okay. Just in case.
Just in case. Cars are made to drive into, 70 miles per hour winds down the road. That gets her in better shape. You don't want to be, if this were a tornado, we'd have her get out. But because this could just be some strong gusty winds, we want to at least point her that way so that she's not hitting her on the side. That makes sense?
Gotcha.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so that's our Aaron, Aaron Wilson? Oh gosh, my brain is, Aaron Wilson, right?
Still got that cell map near Calhoun, about 45-ish, but you may want to go faster on that.
Okay, still going 45-ish, Calhoun County. Our meteorologist, Joel Young, still driving, actually getting into position. He looks like he's pretty close. He's in Vardaman there, looking at that, because I'm betting behind me there. There's all the sweet potatoes. Wait for this to come up. This is the rain that's leading ahead of this thunderstorm here, and we'll get Joel's audio up here in just a moment. I'm going to kind of make it the smaller version of what we kind of pop up there so we can do two things at once with this. Joel, what was a tight single supercell has become more difficult to pick out. You're in Vardaman, right?
Yes, Matt. I'm in Vaden right now. The rain has started to pick up a little bit. Starting to see some pockets of clearing on the left, something I had not seen as much when I was back in Chickasaw County. It was a little bit more overcast, but there are pockets of clearing here on the left side, which indicates to me maybe there may be some, a little bit, well, I'm starting to see now some inflow maybe.
Looking at what we're looking at on Storm Track Doppler radar, you have rainfall. You're in kind of the lighter stuff that's running ahead. I would put any rotation that we have at this point, and John's microphone's up, just so you know. I would put any, and Austin, I appreciate everything you're doing. Our director, Austin, is juggling like 6 jobs at the moment here. But the rotation on this, I would put pretty close to Big Creek at this moment. The radar representation leaves a little bit to be desired at this point, Joel. But I think it's going to keep that rotating part. Oh, it's just slightly north of Highway 8. It couldn't hurt you to get on the east side of, the west side of Vardaman, maybe 2 or 3 miles, and you should have a really good view. But what I think you're seeing there, the middle to left portion of the screen, that's going to be the area to watch. It's just your forward flank, your rainfall in front here is just a little bit of an odd positioning on it. So, and by the way, also, there's another storm that's south of Highway 8 that is back out toward Grayport Crossing, the far southern branch there of Grenada Lake, and that is also showing signs of rotation with it as well. So we'll have to be careful just in case that one ends up becoming the dominant one, because it is the back of the two. Your storm has more of a northerly component. That storm has more of an easterly component. All right?
Let's go a little bit. Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay, good luck and stay safe. And we'll talk to you here in just a little bit. That's our meteorologist, Joel Young, who right now is in Vardaman, getting in position for this thunderstorm. He is looking for some perspective, and I'll pop this back up so we can get this from a minute ago. He's looking here about 13 miles away. He needs to get this number closer to about 4 or 5 to have a really good view. This portion of the screen there, that portion that was there a moment ago, that portion is still the area where we're looking at the rotation, where that point is there, where we could have briefly had the rotation possibly try to touch down, according to at least one storm spotter. We need to try to verify that. Let's look at the debris mode here on Storm Track Doppler radar, see if we can go back and find something there on that. Is that what he's guessing there? 411. John, if you look at John or Alan, if you'd look at chat and find out what they're looking at there and see the time, 4:11. I don't think that's the correct positioning. Let's just check. There's one that it would be in Memphis chat. James there is talking about. They're talking about, you know. And then we'll get John's audio up here real quick.
Okay, Retreat, Mississippi, about 11 miles west of Calhoun City.
Okay, so let's let me get Retreat because I know it pops on the map sometimes. There we are, Retreat. So that's where they're saying this would have been.
That's at least what I'm seeing right here.
I don't know that I agree with that. Looking at the debris mode, that there was ever anything there. That's really, I mean, maybe that scan they're trying to push it, so that'd be 4:21. What's current time? 4:25. No, it'd been. When was that first tweet?
First tweet came in
17 after.
Yeah, roughly 17 after. So.
I don't know that I see that. I don't know that I see that. No, that's probably pushing it. I don't think that's what that was. Okay, thank you, John. I appreciate that. We take this time to clarify these things because sometimes it's a piece of information like that that really allows us to kind of nail things down after that. By the way, good information coming in from this storm back into sections of Grenada County. Reports from the emergency manager there. No damage being reported at this time from either of these thunderstorms. The southern there looking definitely a little more organized at this point. It's been pretty much a big complex, heavy rainfall, lightning, and perhaps if it continues to organize, the attempt to try to produce a tornado. The nearest rotation that we're watching, the one that Joel is heading toward, and is going to pass very close to him in 4 minutes into Calhoun City, Derma in 5 minutes, Houston 25 minutes, Okolona in 43 minutes, and Shannon in 49 minutes. Rotation on that continues to be notable. And the back one, let's just make sure that it's not performing better. I mean, clearly there, far northeast corner of Grenada County. And we'll track that one eastward, so these times will get longer because it's going to be a similar track. And you can see Big Creek 9 minutes, 16 minutes, Calhoun City, Hollis in 21 minutes, Vardaman in 25 minutes, and Tabbville there in 31 minutes. Let's go ahead and reset things. Current time is 4:27 p.m. I'm meteorologist Matt Lawpon alongside our meteorologists Alan Matthew and John DeLusick. Our meteorologist Joel Young out in the field going along Mississippi Highway 8 between Vardaman and Calhoun City right now, tracking a storm that has shown rotation. To this point has not taken a step beyond that to try to produce a tornado, but is certainly in a zone we're going to have to watch very closely. We have other storm chasers that are out there, including our Stan Dora with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers and Spotters. He is on this grouping of storms back southwest here that's approaching Winona and Lexington, continuing to monitor those. They have been pretty organized looking on Storm Track Doppler radar. And so it's not impossible that one of these tries to produce wind damage or a tornado at some point in the future. I'm going to track this cluster of thunderstorms farther east, give you some extended time because you are not officially under a warning. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on these in the near term. Once they get, you can take that next step and get a little bit more organized and fully into the area, we will assess them more greatly. But you can see some of the times there on your screen. What we have had happen today so far is we have had a number of wind damage and tornado reports in and around Tippah County earlier. We do have thunderstorms that are in Tippah County now, including one that shows some signs of rotation just east of Faulkner. Wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar from a couple of different sites says, yes, there's some rotation, but it's not strong, and that's the reason we're not going to dwell on it. But for folks there in Tippah County, they are continuing to try to put back the pieces after a storm earlier on produced a brief touchdown about 2 miles west of Faulkner. A tornado touchdown we believe to be damage in the Tiplerville area reported, including a damage on the north side of Faulkner earlier on, damage in downtown Walnut. East of Walnut, power outages reported in this area. Homes reported damaged on the southeast side of Walnut, as well as downtown, where our Erin Wilson, I believe, is continuing to gather information. I don't know if her TVU is up or not. No, it's not? Okay. Well, we'll try to get in contact with her. Would we be able to check and see if Erin would just pop up her TVU, just even though she's just in the car and the rainfall there? we might be able to get a shot of that, you know, get a look at the damage that unfortunately has happened up there. But as we track down this line, there are other folks that we're still monitoring. This lacks a little bit of fuel once you get up here in this far north. Obviously, regardless of the lack of fuel, there's enough rotation ability, change in winds throughout the atmosphere to produce the tornadoes we had earlier on. So that's why we're still concerned, even though these aren't that impressive looking on radar. Clearly, it is the results, not the impressiveness, that is our greatest concern. Wind mode, storm track Doppler radar, and as we look at this storm in western Union County, okay, there's a lake there, a small lake. We were wider. It looked like that was a green pixel coming in. There is still some rotation there on this, but that is not overly tight. And nothing that I'm super concerned about at this point here. When it looked like it was a little heavier out wide. And saying that, though, give me a moment. I mean, there's a couple areas there where we do have some rotation on this. So let's just get a storm track on it, just out of due diligence. West Union School, where this is located at this point, moving toward New Albany and Calhoun. This is nothing at the moment, but it is loosely rotating, and sometimes it goes from that to stronger with very little notice. So obviously near the West Union School, in 1 minute Poolville there, 4 minutes in Martintown, in 9 minutes New Albany, in 12 minutes Union Hill, in 16 minutes in Calhoun. Didn't clip on there, but we put that in about 20, maybe 21 minutes or so if it continues at that speed. Let's go south on this line. Here at the TV station, by the way, behind the scenes, I can hear the winds aloft continuing to kick up. And as our meteorologist Joel Young is probably encroaching upon Houston at this point here, he has a shot there of definitely one of the more interesting parts of this thunderstorm. And we'll see if we can get Joel's microphone up here in a moment. But Joel, we have your live video live on WTVA 9 News as you're looking toward it. What do you have?
Yeah, I'm looking at a little bit more of a wall cloud. If you'll give me just 1 second, I'm going to try to give you a little bit better visual. So basically what you're looking at right now is a wall cloud. I'm currently in Derma, on the north side of Derma. I actually got off at Highway 8 a little bit so I can give you a better visual. You see plenty of lightning here. We have seen the wind pick up quite a bit. There's a good bit of scud as well, but at the moment it's not raining, so you know, what I'm thinking is we're probably a little bit more in that inflow of this thunderstorm right here where I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, I agree. You're pretty much in the inflow on this. Your thunderstorm has gone through some kind of an evolution where your initial rotating thunderstorm has kind of pulled north, and I would argue is kind of, it would be almost directly kind of northish of you right now is where the original rotation was, and that is not super impressive at the moment. But the developing rotation is probably what you're looking at there, which is kind of west of Calhoun City. Maybe it'd be south of Big Creek is where we put it at this moment. So just be aware that kind of west and southwest is where you're probably looking at that there. And we'll bring Joel's audio back up here a second so we can hear from them. Based on that angle there, does that jive with what you're looking at?
What I'm looking at right now, I'm seeing a little bit more of like what kind of that stinger shape there on that cloud there, just kind of showing you that inflow as it pulls into the storm here, looking west from Derma.
Do you still have warm inflow based on where you're at? Do you feel pretty confident you're still in inflow, like that warm feel?
I'm feeling, yes. Just had a really hard cloud of lightning here. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, we did.
But yes, I think I am still in the inflow, but it doesn't feel as humid at the moment.
Okay. Joel tweeting and talking. Ever the multimedia meteorologist. Okay. So still in the inflow, not quite as humid. You're probably going to, at some point here, want to float a little bit farther west just to kind of stay ahead of it. I mean, your only other option would be if you wanted to cut the 9 and south, or if you actually from there, if you wanted to go down, I don't know if this is a real option for you, County Road 418, to get south of it and then try to track it from behind. I mean, if you got, 4 or 5 miles south on 418, and I don't know how well paved that road is, then that would be an option to be able to get a better, full-on inflow shot, let it pass you by and follow it from behind. But I mean, you know, I would say it's up to you. You're probably just as good floating back on Highway 8 slowly toward Vardaman, repositioning. You know how that goes. That work?
Yeah. Sounds good. I'm going to make that make a decision real quick. I might head south if I can.
Okay, okay. I mean, that definitely looks organized where you're at. So, yeah, can you safely get south?
I'm not sure. You know, what do you think about heading south on Highway 9?
Highway 9, possibly. Yeah, I mean, how far away
Are
are
we
you?
still trying to watch for this coming out of Grenada County?
Yes.
I'm probably like 2 miles. I think Burma's like, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Get Highway 9.
Question. So, what do you think about me,
Get Highway 9 south. Yes.
Yeah, are we trying to just watch for this coming out of Grenada County?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's our meteorologist, Joel Young. He's going to be
All right.
getting in
We'll
position
talk
to
later.
make sure that he has the best angle on this. Seriously, watching this storm. We need to be in a safe place if we live in Calhoun County because of the rotation on this here. It's probably where you see that darkest gray there. That's going to be some hail out of this just north of, that shows County Road 306 there. And I think that's old Highway 8 that kind of goes back there. And so he's going to try to reposition south here if he can. He has a good viewpoint of it, and he knows how to kind of get southeast if necessary. And he's got just a minute to get over there, so he should be okay. And he has a good visual on this. So our meteorologist, Joel Young, trying to get just a little bit south. And as far as visuals go around here, he's got a good eye on this. So let's look, speaking of south, farther south at the other thunderstorms that we have been monitoring, still showing signs of rotation, especially that one near Poplar Springs there, back here toward Highway 17, still out southern Carroll County. That on track will eventually take it toward Vaden and southern Montgomery County. Let's get a track on that, still assuming about that 45 to 50 miles per hour. I'm tracking the rotating part. The rainfall will arrive before this. But as you can see, Embry in 8 minutes, Vaden in 21 minutes, Carmack in 26 minutes, Poplar Creek in 34 minutes. A wider track farther east, continuing to show that storm. And there's really, before I do that, let's get rid of that for a moment. Let's track the whole grouping here, just in case one of these other ones decides to get a little more organized, which remains a possibility. So we can, again, continue to adjust these times for folks ahead of this. Winona at 4:38, Kilmichael at 4:50, and you can see some of those other times on your screen, such as Mathiston at 5:20, 5:10 there for Eupora, Ackerman 5:28, Starkville at 5:45, and eventually toward the Golden Triangle, West Point at 5:53, Columbus at 6:11. A new warning coming out on this one for hail less than 3/4 inch. Those winds rotating on this and then also producing 60-mile-per-hour winds. Our Standora with North Mississippi Storm Chasers and Spotters is on this storm. His visibility is a little degraded at the moment. We are going to keep this up. John, let me know if something else pops on here,
Right.
and we'll watch that very closely. What I need to be concerned with, and I'm going to continue to watch, is we have Joel rotating quickly south here on Highway 9. It's going to be kind of a close call here to get him south in time, but he has good visual of that as he continues to reposition here. He's going down a road here in somebody's neighborhood, so let's find out. Joel, if we could find out where you're at. Where are you at there?
All right, Matt. I am heading south. I'm going to get on County Road 418. It goes through Durham. I'm going to get on 418 and head south. I want to.
Good.
When I get down here a little south of town, I want to turn around and get a better look at this. That on radar is kind of intensified, maybe in just a sense. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And I feel a lot better that you're on County Road 418. I feel a lot better that you're on County Road 418. It would have been too close of a call on Highway 9, and that was a bad move. Excuse me, the Highway 89. That was a bad move on my fault. So, say again one more time, Austin. Okay. There's an excellent viewpoint of this storm. So this is a rapidly organizing thunderstorm here approaching Calhoun City. So you can see behind me here, that's the part that he's looking at. That's that rotating part right there at the edge. Okay, so he's a couple miles south, and he's going to position directly toward it. Unfortunately, there's that tree line there, but he's going to have an excellent viewpoint of this. So that's the rotating part of this thunderstorm. I think would we all agree, looking at this shot here, and I'll bring it full screen for a moment, would we all agree that that is probably, that's a wall cloud for sure right there. And Joel's going to try to get the angle better here in a second. You can probably lock it to the steering wheel there. There's nothing wrong with the windshield wipers. And let's hear his audio. Joel, do you see rotation based on that? Clearly there's a considerable amount of lightning.
Looking, it's a little bit difficult to tell if there's rotation. I'm trying to make sure this camera mount is situated, but the lowering is the lowest lowering I've seen so far today. Of course, I was not up in the tip of county, so I can't speak to that storm in particular, but I'm definitely in a rain-free part of this thunderstorm, the notch there. Looking toward a lowering, if there's going to be a tornado associated with this, I would say, look, right now I'm looking back toward Calhoun City. I'm looking back toward Derma. In fact, right now,
I would look a little bit more west of where you are, Joel, just a little bit west, because this is pretty organized there,
right.
just directly to your west. And when you're out there, there's so much of this that's rotating. But
I'm gonna get this camera.
Okay, I will let you get that mounted there. And this is a technical question, Austin, behind the scenes here. Does he need to unplug and plug in that?
All right, that could be a tornado.
Okay, I think that's on the camera end. I don't want to lose that video, so we're going to put up with it. But as soon as this passes over Calhoun City, we need to strongly consider maybe unplugging and plugging that back in to see if it resets that. Okay, and it will automatically reconnect.
It's loaded.
Will it automatically reconnect if you do that? Okay, let's do that then. Okay, so Joel is repositioning at the moment anyway to make sure that he is safe. Clearly, this is rotation, strong rotation that's trying to get organized over top of Calhoun City. Sometimes the rotation, like what we see here, is good at holding up hail. That at this point seems like this one is. I mean, that's a pretty intense return we have right there on Storm Track Doppler radar. But the rotation there continues to kind of get more organized over top of Calhoun City. My pixel-to-pixel wind change on this is only 35 miles per hour, thankfully. But obviously that is an area of concern for us as this continues to move into Calhoun City there. And is over top. So if you're in Calhoun City, I should have said this 10 minutes ago, but I didn't. We probably need to be in a sturdy structure. Hopefully you figured that out. If Storm Chaser Joel is in your town and we're sitting here and we're watching it, that should be a pretty good sign. You need to be in that safe place. So we want to make sure we are in that reinforced safe place. Even though we do not have a tornado warning that's been issued, we do have rotation that is there. None of these things have happened. Can't guarantee it will develop into a tornado, but it's definitely rotating. Sometimes rotating thunderstorms kick out strong winds as well. So sturdy structure, lowest part of your home or building. In the middle of that, you want to find a small windowless room, wrap up in blankets, pillows, put on a helmet to protect yourself from debris, and stay there until we can give you the all clear. Calhoun City, moving to Derma, eventually to Vardaman. It's going to be pretty much right that zone that this is continuing to track. Really quick, make sure we're not missing out on something else that we have to pay attention to at this moment. We're still okay back there. We still have some time farther north. Let's look at rotation just to make sure. Hold on. And that looks more like straight line winds, even though you see the green and the red, sometimes that's straight line winds. Okay, I'm not going to be super concerned with that. So let's stay down here. Calhoun County, this rotation pretty much over top of Calhoun City at this moment, just slightly east. Our meteorologist Joel Young has been tracking it. He's repositioning at this moment here as we continue to learn more information about this. And it sounds like his audio is still a little in and out. That happens from time to time, but hey, at least we have him. So once this gets past him, we'll probably unplug his video cable and plug it back in. Sometimes that helps reset the video service that we use. But Joel, where are you at right now?
Okay, we're good. I don't want to take it off again. All right, right now I am on south. Just 1 second. I got to get my map here. All right, right now I am on County Road 418. I'm actually looking back toward the west. I've turned off the County Road here, and I am on County Road 457. I'm going to try to turn around a little in just a minute, try to get back on 418 so we can get a better clearing. We just had to pull off and stop because I couldn't get that camera back now, and I'm not taking it off again, by the way.
Okay, that's good. Hey, Joel, you are just south of the rotation by about a mile, so it would be probably almost directly to your north, if not northeast at this moment, which I'm glad you got south here and we got you out of the way just in case, because it was definitely a close call. And I think you'll be able to follow this up from behind and have pretty good visuals on this, unless it occludes. Okay, well, we're going to get him more in position here in a second. We'll hear more from Joel here in a couple of minutes. Looking back at the wind mode here on Storm Track Doppler radar, we still have that rotation. It's still fairly broad. We don't have that tight pixel-to-pixel wind change. That's a good sign on this. Okay, we can do that. So give me about 10 seconds here to get this wide. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay.
We might have air soon, too. She's setting up.
Hey, meteorologist Matt Lopon alongside our meteorologist Alan Matthew and John DeLusick as we are monitoring behind the scenes here on our Facebook Live and at WTVA.com/live. A thunderstorm that's over top of Calhoun City. It's shown signs of rotation. We have not luckily had reports of damage out of this, but it's a very well organized thunderstorm at this moment. The rotation still is relatively broad, but the heavy rainfall in the rotating part of this is now over top of the Derma area, tracking along Highway 8. There's probably some hail with this as well. Looking at what we're looking at here, inch in size would not at all be impossible there, Vardaman, and on the north of Highway 8 in this zone here. I'm going to track two things. First time you're going to see here is the track of the hail potential on this. The second time is the track of the rotation that at some point could possibly develop into a tornado. There, as you can see the times on your screen, this is the hail potential moving toward Thorn 447 there, Houston 454, Van Fleet 501, 511 to Okolona. In the nearer term, we are tracking that rotation, which is still moving about 50-ish miles per hour. And so these times, while later than the ones we showed you a minute ago, if this were to produce a tornado, this is what we're watching. So Vardaman within 4 minutes, it's pretty much moving right into your area at this moment. Houston in 17 minutes, Parkersburg 21 minutes, Van Fleet in 25 minutes, and Okolona in 35 minutes. We have our meteorologist Joel Young, who's been monitoring things, has watched definitely a wall cloud, some rotation on this thunderstorm, lots of dangerous cloud-to-ground lightning. Joel finds himself in Calhoun County right now in the just south of that rotation. Joel, what do you have?
Hey, Matt, right now, again, I'm on that same county road that is just south of Derma. Right now, looking north, the rain was coming down heavily there for just a moment. We had the wind pick up. I was on the very south end of that very back edge of that storm, where that hook is, if you will. Surface-based rotation didn't look good enough right now for it to develop anything at the moment. We're going to head north on this road once again. It intersects Highway 8 at Derma, rather. Head east on 8 and try to kind of creep behind us and watch it.
Okay, be careful, be safe, and your audio is still breaking up just a little bit. So you know, yeah, you're going to be able to walk right up County Road 418 and safely now go on 8 and follow behind it and continue to watch it. The rotation still is there, but it is not pixel to pixel. It is not guaranteed tornado on the ground stuff, but just be safe, keep watching it, so keep us informed. That's our meteorologist, Joel Young, who is in Calhoun County. He's going to be rotating back around the back side of this there as it tracks up from Hollis toward the Vardaman area. So as we check that wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, the rotation is still a little bit broad. You can clearly see on the precipitation mode that we'll go ahead and take Joel's audio down if we could. You can see on the wind mode there, it's still a little more broad than it is on the precipitation mode. But the fact that we have a pretty pronounced appendage there is something that's concerning. And looking at Joel's video a minute ago, it definitely looks like a well-organized thunderstorm. There are other storms that we are monitoring down farther south, a storm that's moving toward Vaden. This one also in a zone where there's a little more fuel to work off of, and there's a rotation. The National Weather Service tagging tornado possible on this one. based on the latest information. Though looking at the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, that's still relatively broad rotation looking from Monroe County. So instead, we'll look from Jackson, see if we have a better shot. A couple areas here where we do. So we're going to track this whole couple of rotations, because at this point, I don't really feel like targeting just one of these. I want to get maybe a broader brush on here just in case one of these does ratchet up, and they have had some erratic movement to them. So Winona at 451 there, Hendricks at 458, Kilmichael at 502, and you can see French Camp there 522, and eventually Ackerman and Mathiston 533, and Mathiston at 538 into Ackerman. Our Standora with North Mississippi Storm Chasers and Spotters video is a little more spotty than what we got from Joel a minute ago. He is tracking this from behind. We've had reports of rotating wall clouds out of this. We have not had reports of anything overly strong, and no reports of tornado touchdowns out of this yet, but we are monitoring, and we'll have updates if things change. Now, farther north, what we have also had, and if you were with us earlier here on WTVA 9 News, we had a report of a tornado touchdown, multiple tornado touchdowns in and around Tippah County. Those damage reports continue to come in at this time as we continue to assess things. What we know is this: we at least had one tornado touchdown that was west of Faulkner, where you see that little icon there. That tornado then tracked north of Faulkner by about a mile or so, half mile to a mile, where there were some reports of trees damaged there. We also had reports of damage in the Tiplerville area, damage to downtown Walnut. At this time, we're still looking to figure out exactly what that is. Numerous buildings reported damaged in Walnut, and then also damage that is along County Road, near the Columbia area there, on County Road, and it's not popping up, so let me get it on the screen here for you. County Road, there we are. 354, excuse me, I guess that'd be Highway 354. Our Erin Wilson with us here on WTVA 9 News is gathering information up there. We hope to hear back from her here in a few minutes. They're waiting on the rainfall to fully get through there so that she can get out and gather that information. What we do know is this, that law enforcement is asking folks for patience and to stay out of there. In fact, in a tweet sent to us by the folks up there in the Walnut, law enforcement saying that there's numerous reports of damage in downtown, that they want to keep folks out of that area if at all possible, and obviously just they need our thoughts and our prayers as they try to clean things up today. One thing we can say as far as the broader risk is concerned is this: as we place on our tornado watches, we have had some locations such as Benton, Lafayette, and Yalobusha counties eliminated from our tornado watch. Pretty soon, once this last line is fully passed through there in Tippah County and sections of Union and far northwest Pontotoc County, those folks will be eliminated as well. So we are starting to see, at least for some of us, the end. So that'll help the folks there that are continuing to try to deal with this situation. So I want to come back here to Calhoun, to Chickasaw County, to a storm that's over top of Vardaman, definitely showing signs of rotation. It is a very well organized thunderstorm here. A couple of areas where there's rotation in it, and there's a couple of rotations in what have been, in some cases, splitting storm cells. I'm going to pop Joel's video up there, and of course, as I pop it up, it locks up. So we'll pop that back down. We'll get it back here in a minute. Let's look at the wind mode here, Storm Track Doppler radar. Hold on a moment. Okay, well, we'll try to get his shot back here in a minute. Our rotation, on at least on the echo we're looking at, precipitation would be right there. It is not pixel to pixel wind change, but it is continuing to get a little more organized there. So let's track that eastward. We'll go back to the rainfall mode here on Storm Track Doppler radar. And then we'll track that from Vardaman toward the Houston area still. And I want to double check here behind the scenes. Are we still going 45 to 50 on this, Alan? If you will, let's double check that just to make sure. National Weather Service had been tracking it a little faster than it's been going. And it does look more organized on the precip mode here. It went through a little bit of a cell merger, and so it's recovering from that right now. And this is in a zone where projections have depicted at least a rotating storm like this trying to produce tornadoes even since last night. So this is an area we're concerned with. Highland 3 minutes, Hall 6 minutes, Houston 11 minutes as this is working its way into more unstable air and trying to work its way eastward. So definitely watching this closely, and I'm wondering if Joel's battery died on that camera, looking at what I'm seeing there. That might be our issue with Joel. If we could, Alan, can we call Joel for a minute here and talk to him just to get his audio for just a moment? I just want to Okay, hold on. I think they're doing that behind the scenes here, so we'll see if we can get that audio. Okay, so that's obviously one of the storms that we are watching. So here's what we're going to do. We are continuing our live stream at WTVA.com/live. We're obviously very, very, very closely monitoring this thunderstorm here in Chickasaw County. What I don't have at this moment is I don't have that pixel-to-pixel wind change like what we had up near the Walnut area earlier on that then produced tornado. We don't have that strong wind change that's imminently going to produce a tornado, but it is certainly something we are watching. John has some information coming to us at this moment. I'll get our meteorologist John DeLusik's microphone up.
Playing from Michelle in just this is this is just a picture of, well, the video's not playing right now, but it was.
So where's it from?
This is from Derma.
Derma? Okay.
Yeah.
So that is similar to what we saw. And go ahead and see if it'll play this time.
Doesn't want.
Hit the F5 key. We'll see if it comes up that way.
Okay.
And we appreciate all the pictures and sorts of things
I'll
y'all
try
have
this.
sent us.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, there we go. So if you'll make that full screen, there we are. So this is obviously showing what we were probably seeing just a moment ago, and heavy rainfall with that, definitely a possibility.
Yes.
Facebook doing its fun, hey, you
Well.
like these videos thing to us there. Certainly monitoring that. What I do want to show here behind the scenes, another kind of wider shot of the same thing. This is similar, excuse me, I popped up your thing again, let's pop up mine. Similar in the broad rotation here that you can see. This is what is moving through Vardaman right now and moving in the direction of the Houston area. This whole area here is rotating, very well organized. It's on the edge of it there that if we were able to see this try to produce a tornado, that's where it would happen. And so this was sent in from Calhoun City just a few minutes ago as we continue to monitor this. And we'll pop John's mic up and down as we pop him up there, if we could please. Okay, so that's clearly what we're looking at, very near the Thorn area. It is a little more organized here on the latest scan, but again, that pixel-to-pixel wind change isn't quite is nowhere near as strong as what it was just a little bit earlier on. So as we mentioned, we're going to continue monitoring things. Okay.
I've got Joel.
You have Joel. Well, let's talk to Joel. Let's make sure before we kick it back to programming, let's make sure that we don't have something more significant. And I assume your battery died on the camera.
Want me until it charges? Do you want me to use my cell phone for FaceTime, or do you want to do it for Facebook Live and then pull it in from Mac 3?
Facebook Live, if you would.
Facebook Live, gotcha.
Go to Facebook Live, and John will look for the Facebook Live. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye. Okay. Which storm is that? That looks, no, the storm you have here on that's the Vaden storm. That Vaden storm,
Yeah.
Is that from Memphis? Is that from Jackson? That Vaden storm is, yeah, that Vaden storm has gotten much more organized. Let's get a new storm track on this storm here approaching Houston, the rotating part of it moving toward Houston, Hall community in 1 minute, 6 minutes into Houston, and a longer track. We'll see if it won't let me drag it all the way there to Okolona. So let's get a longer track ahead here, and we got to get south to Vaden. Houston in 6 minutes, Van Vliet in 15 minutes, Okolona 24 minutes, Amory in 42 minutes, and Smithville in 50 minutes. A rotation, we're watching it very closely. But as we go south here to Vaden, this is a storm that on the wind mode here is very substantial. And we'll try to get Stan's video back up on this if we could, John, here in just a minute. Let's go to the wind mode here, and we're going to look from Jackson. And a very pronounced wind return showing up here in excess of 70 miles per hour, moving really across locations there just south of Vaden, between Vaden and Beatty at this moment. So we expect a new warning will be issued for those strong winds. It is a rotating thunderstorm as well, but those are very impressively strong straight line winds at the very least. And so I'm going to track along that whole leading edge there, and we'll verify when they issue the new warning. We'll check their storm speed, and let's see if they're... There we are. So Beatty obviously now, Hendricks Community at 5:02, Kilmichael at 5:05, Poplar Creek at 5:07, Stewart Community at 5:15, and French Camp at 5:21. This is strong straight line winds. This is also rotation. Our Stan Dora with North Mississippi Storm Chasers and Spotters obviously is on this and monitoring this, and at least from his viewpoint there, I don't see anything that I'm terribly concerned with at this moment, but clearly he is going to reposition, and we have a direct line to him, and we'll get that information as necessary. But that is definitely a strong, one of our stronger returns we've had from any of the storms today. Okay, one more time on Chickasaw, Monroe County, just to make sure. And by the way, for folks farther north that are wanting to know, there's some weak rotation in all of these storms. We have a lot of what we refer to as shear in the atmosphere today, but the storm has to grow a certain size before that shear, that ability to rotate, deepens enough to produce a tornado. And these are not